Hello everyone, Mrhappy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mrhappy, aka Mrhappy Mondays, weekly Q&A show where you can ask me questions and I answer them. I see we have a crazy amount of them, so I'll keep the news pretty short here at the beginning. You know what to do, questions here. I've actually made a tiny little monk opener slash tips video. Seems to be going well. I may make a full-blown monk guide. I may do videos like that for all the jobs. I was encouraged by one of my viewers, Light Earth, and he says if there's any job I don't have at 60, he can help contribute to that. So we may work together and get all the videos out for all 13 of the current jobs, but I would like to at least try the ones I have at level 60 and make sure that I have a full understanding of those before reaching out and getting footage from somebody else. So hopefully that collaboration goes well and I can get you guys openers and tips for all of the 13 jobs. Maybe I can collaborate with some of the other content creators regarding some of the bigger guide makers for jobs like Bard and whatnot. We'll see what we can do. I'll do my best to include whatever I can find though. But anyway, with that out of the way, check out those videos. Let's go right into the questions because I have some from the live Twitch stream and I have a bunch of them from the forums. Alright, so our very first question. Good day, Mrhappy. No bonus. Sad face. Don't cry. TLDR, I'm considering what animal weapon I want to try to get, Scholar or Astro. So I play mostly healers, and I love Astro, however I've been playing a lot of Scholar, and I'm beginning to feel like it's almost always better to play Scholar in instances we do as a free company. Don't really play with my free company members, so there's normally a white mage. I think both the weapons look cool, and I may end up getting both. Well, if you're always playing with a white mage and you're doing 8-man level content, definitely better to be playing a Scholar. Astro Scholar as a combo is good, but white mage Astro as opposed to a white mage Scholar, I would definitely pick Scholar in that case. If that's the case that and you're trying to pick between the two, I would go with Scholar in this case. If you know you're going to be playing with a fellow white mage so much more often. And Astro, I understand, has a soft spot in your heart. Doesn't mean you can't ever play it. Just, if you're going to pick an animal, I would go with the one that seems to fit with that duo better, because that seems to be what your major consideration is. Alright, next question. Greetings, Mrhappy. Greetings. Fairly new watcher, first time poster, so I give unto you a bonus of haggis and whiskey. You, sir, are a good man. I've actually never had haggis. It's one of those things I've had on my, to eat list at some point in my life. That's sheep intestines, if I'm not mistaken, right? That's a Scottish thing. I'm looking forward to trying that, so thank you. So my question, my partner has recently wanted to get into playing 14. She started out as a white mage and wanted to get to 1000 mods before she confessed she was miserable due to the stress of being new and people trolling her for a couple of deaths or stressing over AoE damage. She wants to experience the game and story with me and she's agreed to give the game another try. What class would you recommend? Bit less responsibility? Sounds like she just needs to play a DPS. Tell her to play Arcanist? The thing is, Arcanist would be kind of okay because she can play it as a DPS through and through to play Summoner. And then she could always play Scholar if she decided she wants to try healing again at some point. So I think Arcanist might be a good bet for her because keep in mind if you're both DPS, if you're a tank and she's a healer and then she switches to DPS, now you're tank and DPS queuing, your queues are still going to be good, but if you're a DPS and she's a DPS, those dungeon queues are going to be awful. So with Deep Dungeon, it won't matter as much, but for the story itself, that's going to matter eventually. So you may want to keep that in mind. Also, I would tell her this great function. Blacklist add name. It doesn't work in dungeons, unfortunately, but can't let people get you down. You gotta have fun, and you can't learn if you're always afraid of the way other people are going to be judging you. And no matter what, DPS, tank, or healer, eventually, this community does judge people in some way, shape, or form. I'm guilty of it, the people who watch my stream, the people who watch my videos, everyone's guilty of judging another player at some point or another. So, just hopefully, she can kind of power through, get past the beginning nerves, and then she can play whatever she wants, whether it's 100% effective or not. Hopefully, she could have a good time. Alright, next question. Ayehaps, I hope you enjoy question roulettes because there are more. Actually, I do enjoy question roulettes because very rarely, as long as it's not the very first question that I get, when it's the very first question, you see how the size of this box down here, I kind of check using one of the ones I guess I decide I'm not going to pick, and I check one to see how much space I need. But when it's the third question, it's great because I don't know any of them. Let's see. I'm going to go with the third one right here. This one right here. How do you deal with people you hate? I just don't affiliate with them. I mean, it's really, really simple. You just don't pay attention, don't affiliate, and you're done. That's it. I mean, obviously, that works in my line of work specifically, and it works in-game because I could just, like I was just saying in the last question, you can blacklist somebody if you don't want to play with them, or if you don't want to communicate with them, or you just don't like them, whatever. You have tools. And then as a person, you just go, it's not worth my time. Not worth my time to worry about that. Alright, next question. Hello, mister. Important question. It's bolded. How should I build my fancy new monk anima? Ooh. Ooh. Now, when you say how, do you mean stats or do you mean like how? Like, how am I going to actually complete this quest? I'm assuming since you said you're having bad luck with the Amber Gaze Violkins, you have a plan for that already. 120 crit, 115 determination, last 5 points, doesn't matter too much. You can go with 5 points in accuracy if you want to be like ready for the next raid tier and you want those few extra points. For itemization purposes, you can go accuracy, or you can just go with the skill speed. Odds are that skill speed isn't going to push you over a tier unless the rest of your gear is kind of planned out around it. But those last 5 points are really, really awkward for all the melees where determination, that determination is better than skill speed. So Bard is, everyone except Bard basically, it doesn't have that problem. And then Black Mages, it just go crit and spell speed, and it's a nice even 120, 120. All right, on to the next question. Hello again, Mr. Happy. Hello to you again. Not first-time poster. I know, that's why you said again. So thanks for the great content. Thank you for watching the great content. We're having a really great conversation here. I'm glad that even with you not being here while I'm answering it, we can have this conversation. The shiny, new, and glorious Raid Finder. Uh-oh. On Chaos, it's practically dead most of the time for newbies who would like to practice even A5. I tried to queue in many times since 3.3 to see if it's even possible to get through Tim and Bob, and the best outcome I got was 2 healers and 3 DPS after 1.5 hours. Thanks for really managed to deliver a tool to help new players to progress through Savage content without having to dealing with the trolly party finders. So ultimately, the Raid Finder doesn't quell people's issues with other people. Final Fantasy XIV has developed a sense where if you're going in with random people, good fucking luck. Between 24-man raids, between even Nidhogg normal, it's just always how it's been. So you can give the community this tool, and this tool's like great. You could do it cross-server, you could just look within a queue of people who want to do the raid, but people have to be willing to use it, is the ultimate thing. Now, obviously, the idea, if you're using it, is that you'll get practice, you'll maybe beat a fight, and then when you go to an actual raid group in your server, party finder, whatever, you can go, I've gotten this far, I've cleared this content, I did it in the raid finder, and that's great. The problem is nobody trusts anybody else. So going into the raid finder is like, fuck that, I'd fucking know better than to do that. No way you're going to convince me to go in there. That's the only problem with the raid finder, is us. People are always the problem. We suck, don't we? Like, we could probably throw a bunch of dogs and a computer, and they would just be like, oh, it's the... Obviously, dogs would be thinking that while they're doing it. They just press buttons and eventually end up in the raid finder. But us, no. We're thinking about it too much. It's just a matter of people got to go in. Either they need to add more incentives, which is bullshit, or people just need to stop being so afraid and just fucking do it. Alright, next question. Hey, Mr. Happy, relatively long-time listener and first-time poster, but thanks for giving me something to look forward to listening each week. I'm glad you listen to it every week, my friend. Thank you for supporting it as long as it has. Almost episode 100. This is 98. 2 episodes from 100, and then that's just 4 episodes short of 2 years. So, I don't even think it's worth celebrating 2 years. Just celebrate the 100th episode at that point. So I want to thank you for first for creating a class comparison video for tanks. That helped me choose to play Dark Knight. I'd really wanted to learn a tanking in an MMO, and you helped me choose the class that fit me best. My actual question is about Dark Knight. Animal Weapon Part 5. What would you say are the most important growth stats for it? Critical hit rate, determination, and then skill speed or accuracy. It's pretty much the same for all the tanks. Some warriors argue in favor of some skill speed in order to hit 650 to get an extra global cooldown in Berserk, I believe it is, but most of the time, I'll just go flat crit det skill speed, unless you're Black Mage, Scholar, or Black Mage, a Healer, or Bard. Those are like the only ones that ever deviate from that list. Alright, next question. Hey, Haps, how you doing, mate? How you doing? I'm doing alright, man. Hopefully you're doing alright, my man. As a first-time poster here, you can get a bonus, as I'm feeling generous. However, there is a twist. You only get to pick one in a game I call Bonus Roulette. So I get to pick the bonus, as opposed to getting to pick the question. Alright, have Yoshida allow you to design a Savage Raid? Oh yeah, you're all fucked. Oh, I hope you didn't have plans for the next 6 months, because your anus is going to be torn asunder now. Anyway, in all seriousness, I have 3 quick questions. This is my opener here. Alright, so because of the length of the show, I'm not going to be able to sit there and open it. But I could tell you right now, so I actually just made a video about Monk. One of the videos at the beginning shows the Monk opener, the non-Fracture Monk opener. There is a Fracture Monk opener as well, where you delay Blood for Blood by 2 global cooldowns and then double weave a few things. And then eventually, basically, the last global cooldown of your opener is a Fracture just after Dragon Kick and Twin Snakes. So check out the opener in that Monk video. I can't dedicate the time to watching this opener as we speak right here. Or even, I'm assuming this is just a link that takes me to a written out opener. So definitely go check out that video. That'll give you the opener I recommend. 2, I've heard the use of Fracture on Monk and how it can be beneficial. What I'd like to know is how Fracture can be optimized. Again, that's kind of covered in this video, but I'll answer it here just in case. So Fracture is only good if you don't use Touch of Death between demolishes. So Demolish is a 21-second duration, Touch of Death has a 30-second duration. If you go from Demolish to Demolish without reapplying Touch of Death, which happens just because of the durations, a lot of the times what you'll see is you end up with like 3 seconds left on Demolish when you clip it at the end. So a lot of the times you lose a tick of Demolish just because you had to clip it early, which can, cost you a tick with Blood for Blood and Internal Release or any of your buffs. So that's a time when you use Fracture. Right after your opener is a good example of that, because between those 2 Demolishes, you won't reapply Touch of Death. Also, whenever there's an enemy that will only live for under 20 seconds, Touch of Death is less valuable than Fracture. So you can use Fracture on ads that are only alive for anywhere from like 16 to 20 seconds. That's a good time frame. Also, if you ever find yourself just needing to leave the boss's side to do a mechanic before you start doing all your change forming and thing like that, as long as it's not going to cost you Greased Lightning, you can use it there as well. And 3, general question regarding dummy damage in a party with no fruit or potions. Would you consider 2,000 to 2,050 enough damage over 4 minutes? Yeah, that's definitely good over 4 minutes. Over 3 minutes, I usually do around like 250 to 2,100. So yeah, that seems about right. Especially if you're using Fracture. Over the 4 minutes, even with Fracture, you probably won't run out of TP. And then, of course, you also have a few other things. If you're using it very sparingly, you still won't run out of TP. But yeah, the 2050, yeah, you're in a good spot for dummy. But what really matters, dummy DPS, fantastic. It all matters about applicable fight DPS. That is the only DPS that actually matters. This shows you have at least a good understanding of your job and how it flows through over the course of a long period of time. But when you're cut with ads and mechanics and breaks, that's where you're tested. That's where your DPS is really tested. All right, next question. Ayehaps, sorry for the no bonus last week. So for this week, have 2 plates of cookies and a coffee cake. I have Hap Coffee. You can buy Hap Coffee. Hey, go to my coffee link. I'll put that in the description. I mean, I'll put it there. I mean, I'll forget I said this and I won't put it there. But in theory, you can just go to my Twitch chat and type !CAWFEE June Brew for Hap Coffee. It's phenomenal. My question is, being a Goon Master race, like my boy Sly here, do you think that the stereotype of Law Goon is still present? Oh, absolutely. It'll never go away. Even if Dragoon had all of its jumps removed, it would still be a running joke. Like, and I'm not saying they will ever remove jumps, but I'm saying like that's the #1 thing that got them the Law Goon was the old jump animation delays. They would still be called Law Goons. I'm telling you right now. So, and besides, Dragoons are perfectly fine. A well-played Dragoon wrecks shit. Great utility, great raid DPS, great raid DPS utility is really what it brings. You know, it brings the piercing debuff, it brings the crit buff, which is phenomenal, and then it just brings good personal DPS. You don't really need much else from them. Second question is, why is Warrior considered a tank? You know, that's a great question. Do you know the average DPS of top-of-the-line Warrior? I don't, actually. I could go and check Darian. He was the tank for the group I was in back in 3.2, and he's phenomenal at the job. He's always, like, in the top percentage of FF logs. So if I just go and check him, I couldn't spell his name for you, because I don't know. It's Darian. It's like D-A-E-R-I-I-O-N or something. I don't know. He's got a fucking weird way of spelling it. But yeah, if I could check his, yeah, he's top of the line. Alright, next question. Greetings, Mr. Happy, and happy Sun Monday. Sun Monday. I guess that's what it is when I'm recording this. New to posting on here, though you already answered some questions of mine on the Twitch channel. Apparently, as a noob, I'm to offer up a sacrifice of our digital deity. To our digital deity. I'm not a deity, please. So have some taquitos. I love taquitos. First off, I love the content you put out. Fairly new to 14, out of a few months of loving the game. Friend of mine started playing Finding Guides, and I've gone through a good portion of them. All of them are really helpful. I'm running Scholar as one of my mains. I have 3 tunes at the moment. One of those. You got a lot of tunes, that's alright. And I've started running into problems in dungeons. I die, tank dies, everyone dies. Most notably this happens in... Oh, you call it Autumn Vale? It's Aurum Vale. But still, I'd rather forget it's Aurum Vale altogether. Really bad dungeon. Instead of asking you to tell me what I'm doing wrong, I was wondering if you should just a good website forum or guide. Well, I mean, so I actually recommend watching... I have an entire series of videos where I play as a controller player as a healer. I'm White Mage, not Scholar, but I go over a lot of very basic rules about healing and ways to make sure you keep the tank alive and even squeeze out some damage. So I would recommend watching through the White Mage video, kind of looking at the way that I play, because this doesn't sound like a fundamental Scholar problem. This sounds more like a personal healing problem, where you're either so focused on healing you die to a mechanic, or you're not focused enough on the tank and he dies because he doesn't get enough healing. So without seeing what you're doing, I don't think this is a scholar problem. I think it's more of a personal attention problem. And then on top of that, my friend and I, who are both new to 14, have started our own free company. The higher levels we get, I keep wondering if perhaps we shouldn't be on our own. In your opinion, should we stay on our course on our own and grow outward eventually, or should we try and join a larger free company? That's up to you. If you guys don't have aspirations to grow your free company at all, I would say it's up to you. If you don't want to be in the small group, absolutely go to another free company. If you guys have aspirations to, have a large free company or to grow a free company, do it. There's plenty of benefits to doing that, and being your own boss. Just keep in mind, dealing with people's drama, not a fun thing about running a large free company. I'm sure anyone who has a large free company who's ever had to deal with drama between free company members can totally vouch for that. So I would say it's up to you, really. You can't ask me. I can't tell you how to do that. That is literally, you have to ask. That's a discussion you both need to have between each other, because there's no wrong decision there. And for drinking contest, Dark Jaeger, who wins? You or Sly? Sly's an alcoholic. He's gonna win every time. I'm not gonna say anything about that. I tried tanking. Decided tanking was for me. Think it's too early to make that call. A lot of the times you can tell if you don't want to be a tank pretty early on, but sometimes the jobs just get more fun and you get sucked into it. I'm looking at you, Warrior. So I'd say try tanking a little bit longer. All right, next question. Sup, Haps? Have all the SOs. I apologize for my first question last week, as I was fried from running Weeping City 6 times for those damn pants. The tank pants? I have the tank pants. High five. I have 2 legit questions. 1, when do you think we'll be able to single queue in a Nidhogg Extreme? 3.4. Every time a new Extreme is added, it's only queuable by 8 until the following major patch. So 3.4, you'll be able to queue in a Nidhogg. If you're lucky, they'll do 3.35. I don't think they will. I think they'll stick to 3.4. And would that be a feasible way to clear it? Expect failure, but you can have success. I've seen Duty Finder groups clear Extreme Primals before. That's just not what they're known for. And 2, how long do you think it'd take before we hit Persona levels of grinding in 14? Have you done the Anima quest yet? I don't know if you've done the Anima quest yet. We only get 1% of a 16th of what it takes to level up. I mean, it kind of already feels that way when you get to level 59. If you go kill a mob in the open world, you're not like, yay, experience. You're like, did I even fucking get experience from that? So it kind of already feels like that, but it'll never take that long to level. Strictly won't take that long to gain a level, no matter what. All right, next one. Hey, Haps, I hope you can understand my reasoning question. Not sure if I articulated it well. We shall see. Most players, including yourself, always tout crit over dead over skill speed to prioritize substats. Not for every job, but for the majority of them. For attaching materia, I concur with that. I can, example, crit +9, determination +6. So you have +9 versus +6. And most of the times you have gear choices of having to pick between critical and determination. Okay. Let's see. I thought you were going to talk about, so materia you're talking about there, a lot of the times, because determination's only +6, sometimes for some jobs it can be more beneficial to put a skill speed 4 as opposed to a det 4, because for some jobs 9 points in skill speed is more beneficial than 6 points of determination. So that is something I thought you were going to ask a question about that. I might as well just cover that right there with that point. Thing is, the animal weapon is point for point regarding crit and det at all stats. If the game values 1 point of det is more than 1 point of crit. No. So the game doesn't do exactly what you're saying. The game used to do determination like that. Determination used to cap at 1/3 of the value of the other off stats. It no longer does that. I believe it's 4 points, but it's 4 points below cap on accessories and 5 points less on everything else. I know in the weapon there's 5 less determination points. You can see that right on the anima. But it doesn't matter how the game values it. It matters how damage calculations are done. Derby could speak on this a lot more because he's the one who does the majority of our stat weights for the Final Fantasy XIV community. God bless his soul. But it's not just a matter of how the game values it, it's how it actually works out. Do you have things that proc off critical hit rate? Do you have lots of dots, which is valued very highly on damage over time skills? Also, you have to keep in mind, critical hit rate also increases critical hit damage. So how many skills do you have that have a 100% crit chance? So like Ninja has Kasatsu, critical hit rate scales really well with that because it increases the maximum damage it deals. Monk has Boot Shine. Literally every 6 to 7 global cooldowns, they get an automatic crit. So again, it's valued very highly on them because of that. Dragoon, Life Surge, critical hit rate increases the amount of damage you're going to do with that crit. So it comes down to a lot of different aspects, but it's not just a matter of how the game tells you, because you're not allowed to have as much determination. Doesn't mean determination is as strong as the other ones. Maybe in some universe, if we had the same amount, it would eventually cap out and have the ability to have more determination would be better. But 1 point of crit on most jobs is flat out better than 1 point of determination. And that's just how it is. So it doesn't matter if the game values it in a certain way. And it seems like you edited something in. I noticed you can max both crit and det, making my question unnecessary. Now, I wouldn't say that because I did get to answer something that is pretty fundamental regarding stat differences. So hopefully you take that to mind and don't just apply it to the animal weapon. Apply it to everything else around you. Next question. Ayehaps, how you doing? Yo, I'm doing alright, man. Hopefully you're doing good too. In your Mondays with Mr. Happy 96 video, you had some advice for which stats a white mage should be using. Accuracy, piety, spell speed. Should Astros aim for the same stats? Now, I believe last week I talked about this, where Astros, I've heard so many different accounts. I honestly don't feel comfortable saying one account is better than the other. Piety used to be a much bigger deal on Astros than it is now. That was before they buffed pretty much Astros across the board. And Luminous Ether, it's available for much longer. People are always working way more. MP skills, Ewers are far more valuable than they used to be. And just the efficiency of Astros heals, it's far more MP efficient than it used to be. So I don't feel comfortable talking about Astro all too much, but from what some professional Astros have told me, crit is actually valued very highly on Astro now. They don't get any specific procs, but because they are so like they're so heal over time heavy, and their direct heals are not as strong, they value the crits a little higher. I personally can't speak exactly on it. Personally, I feel Astro should be aiming for stuff similar to White Mage with spell speed and accuracy. Accuracy also has a lower value on them though, because both of their dots, Combust and Combust 2, have 100% accuracy rate, so that even lowers the value of accuracy. You're pretty much just getting accuracy for cross-classed Arrow, Gravity, and Malefic 2. Everything's thrown into flux. Astro is always that really weird job to talk about. I personally don't feel like I can give you a set answer. I can only tell you what all the Astros around me have told me, and they all tell me different things, so I don't fucking know. Alright, next question. Ayehaps, how you doing? That's like the third time I've had to say how you doing. It's alright. Long-time viewer and subbing to your YouTube and first-time asker. Hey, I should have shouted that out at the beginning. We're really close to 100,000 subs on YouTube, guys, and 40,000 followers on Twitch. Okay, just wanted to get excited. What's the best way to keep your lore tomestones capped? I literally do Aquapolis. If you can't get on every day, the days you can get on, do Expert. And if you have a Gatherer, do Aquapolis. Aquapolis, even if you just get to like the 4th or 5th floor a few times, those lore tomestones add up real quick. On top of that, you have the Weeping City to consider for lore tomestones, any of the Void Arc. So 1 Expert per day that you actually do get on. So if you get 2 or 3 days, that's 2 or 3 experts. That's 70 lore tomestones per day you actually get on to do it. The Weeping City, I don't remember how much lore that is. I think it's 50. I think Void Arc is 20. But you should be doing one of those a week for the weekly upgrades. Anyways, that's another 70. That's the equivalent of another expert. And then Aquapolis. If you want to do other dungeons to get your lore tomestones, you can. But that's really the best way. You can just spam fucking expert dungeons over and over again and just get like a little bit of lore at a time. You ever do a Q&A for both you and Sly? What question do you have for Sly? I'd love to ask him those questions. The other day I was driving home, my wife said she told her daughter to use your words. I started laughing. Sly will be proud of your wife. Very proud. Alright, next question. Hey, Happy, first time poster, so take a bonus of early press copy of your favorite E3 games. That's a lot of games, dude. That's a lot of games. Give me Final Fantasy 15 right now. Do it. Do it. 1. Do you think the limit break throttling and raid environments will allow Square Enix to vary the landscape? Turn 1 final boss is one of my favorite fight dynamics. The difference in arena layout could further differentiate raids from trials and dungeon boss raids. I think Turn 1 is a pretty good example of making something that is actually symmetrical, but is also very different from what we're used to as an arena. And it was a mostly successful venture, I feel. Other than that, just Turn 1 wasn't scaled very well. Just because the fight didn't have a whole lot of mechanics, and the mechanics it did have were not very difficult. So, and also the fight just wasn't scaled well. We literally zerged that fight in like item level 65. Like we did 1 or 2 slimes just to make it manageable, and then that was it. We just wrecked those things. So, I'm down. I'm down for fights like that. And I think A6 Savage is another example of a very interesting fight in terms of the arenas, just because it's like the way that it's like gauntlet style. I thought was really cool. And 2, with the dyeable coil gear implemented, what do you think is next for a glamour gear? Dyeable? Alexander? No, I was going to say, that's fucking stupid because it's already fucking dyeable. I don't know. I don't think we'll see, maybe dyeable Crystal Tower gear? Maybe they'll add fucking Ether Stones to the Crystal Tower next. I'm down. I'm down with that. All right, next question. Hey, Haps, hope life is treating you good, my man. It is. Enjoy a few chunks of Umbrite to help to get that anima finished. That would be my second anima, because I'm already done with the first one. Sorry, I needed to do that. So my question this week partially contains spoilers, so you get that thumbs up ready if it's needed. I haven't had to do that in a while, just because we haven't cared. We did the spoiler cast the other week, so, whatever. With the last mission in the Warring Triad storyline, Unakalhai mentions that he's from a different world, which Aurosite was used to contain primals. Hey, we talked about this on State of the Realm this last week. I know Aurosite has been brought up before. So my actual question is, do you think any other questions from Unakalhai's world may join in the Warring Triad? Well, Ethis specifically spoke about Unakalhai's reference to Final Fantasy 12, or Ivalice in general, just that universe in the Final Fantasy, so Tactics and Final Fantasy 12. Because they use Aurosite as a means of containing primals. And then, of course, you have Magicite from Final Fantasy VI, which, considering it's the Warring Triad storyline, I think whoever it is from the other world, Ethis thinks it's Garoon, which is a character that is from Final Fantasy XIV that wrote the book from the end of the 3.1 storyline. So if you were paying attention to that, and then I think it's probably someone from another Final Fantasy who will forever be unnamed. Some people think it's Elidibus because Unakalhai and Elidibus literally, like, their stories match according to some of the things that we've read. So I don't think it has anything to do with, I mean, Unakalhai, if it's anyone, it's Elidibus, or I don't think if they're from another Final Fantasy, I don't think we'll ever see them. Even if it's Garoon, I don't think we'll ever see him. I think we're just going to be messing with Unakalhai the whole time. Alright, next question. Hey, Haps, not a first-time poster, so I have the shiny, new, and wonderful Kieran's Osode. Man, I remember throwing one of those to the ground because they sold for... Oh, no, it wasn't the Osode that sold for shit. It was the fucking pole that sold for, like, 10k. I never really played a melee that could use Kieran's Osode, so it didn't matter to me. Anyway, I've got two quick questions. Do you think they could implement something similar to a token system for the 24-man raids? Pretty sick of running mock 20 times a week. They could. I don't know that they want to, though, because I think they want you to have to do it over and over again to keep it populated. So, I guess I personally don't see the harm in it, but I don't think they'll do it, to be honest. And two, do you think it would be feasible to add more mounts as companions? Listen, our own Chocobo can't even go into the friggin' dungeons yet. The last thing I need is even more companions that can't go into the dungeon. Originally, the Magitech mount was supposed to be a companion. It was supposed to be customizable as well. That never came through. So, yeah. We're going to have the Grand Company Mercenary system. Those are going to be new companions in a sense. So we'll see how that works out. We'll find out more about that in the next live letter, whenever it is. Alright, next question. Sup, bruh? You know how you're always talking about how loving to be productive when it comes to playing games and streaming at the same time, and also not playing games that you actually kind of liked but weren't as popular with the viewers? I'm kind of wondering now whether or not you miss those times where you game for you and not for your viewers, where you don't have to worry about Twitch chat or whether or not the viewers are raising or dropping, etc. Do you ever miss that self-time where you play and enjoy games simply because you like it? There's the occasional time where I'll take that time to myself, but not really, because I feel good when I feel good when I broadcast. It's just a matter of sometimes I have to take a step back and be like, okay, clearly I'm either not entertaining playing this game or the game's not entertaining. One of the two is happening regardless. What I eventually would love to achieve is a live stream where I feel like the viewers are absolutely there for me and not just for whichever game that I'm playing. It's really hard to 100% achieve that, and considering I dug myself into the Final Fantasy XIV hole, and I'll be playing it probably until the game absolutely falls over on its heels, I've kind of done that to myself where I want that way more because it's like the one thing I don't have yet. If I go live with a game that isn't like Final Fantasy or even an RPG, I know that there's always some thought in the back of my head like I am not going to be 100% comfortable because I don't feel like my viewers are there to watch me. So if we can ever get to the point where the viewers are absolutely there to talk with each other or to converse with just the broadcast, be a part of the community like full time, that will be the day when I don't feel like that entirely. But even nowadays, I don't feel like that entirely because a lot of the games I think are cool, even if I thought they were cool 10 years ago, I probably still wouldn't have picked them up just because I was so addicted to playing MMOs. Like, that's because I am like that as a person. So it's very, very, very difficult to find a balance between the two. I kind of just accept things as they are and then just try to move things forward, look for new RPGs, look for new fun things I can do, and bring those to the broadcast and to the YouTube channel. Until I find exactly what that is and I'm 100% confident that my viewers will be there because it's content I'm producing and not because of the game that I'm producing the content for, that's when I'll feel 100% comfortable. All right, next question. Hello, Mr. Happy. First time question asker here. So my bonus, I give unto you a jar of motivation. Use it whenever you need a little boost to get you through your daily routine. Well, my daily routine, I never have too hard of a time getting through. We kind of just covered that in the last question. Quick little recap before my question to give you some insight on my situation, but feel free to skip as the questions will be fairly open-ended. Did you bold the questions? Oh my god, yeah. Okay, well let me read the bolded stuff and see if I need the TLDR. How do you give yourself the motivation to log in each day to keep up with the content, get everything done? I just love Final Fantasy. And it's not, I don't get everything done. My crafters aren't leveled, not all my gatherers are leveled. I don't always have the most up-to-date gear for my gatherers that I do have leveled. I don't feel the desire to level everything to 60. And you know what? Those are the kind of things when you say to somebody, I'm bored of the game, there's nothing to do. And when people rebuttal with, oh, but you have all these jobs to level. Oh, you could level your crafters, you could level your gatherers, you could go collect minions, mounts. That maybe I don't want to do those things. I don't want to go run friggin' Ramu Extreme for a mount for the next 3 hours. Like, I don't want to do that. That's not on my interest scale. But you know what does interest me? Getting on, doing a few dungeons, making sure that I keep myself in practice in case I ever get pulled into a raid again, trying out different jobs, making sure that I'm learning them, making sure I'm able to teach people. When I log in, I log in with the intent of helping people by answering questions and showcasing them, at least either, even if it's not the greatest gameplay, I'll comment on it and say, that what I just did, that was incorrect. I would not recommend doing that in that scenario, and hopefully it teaches people how it works. So my motivations are a lot different as a streamer. I always want to make sure that people feel like they're part of a community and feel helped. And what would you suggest players whose sense of progression is entirely self-based, not part of a raid group, do you do to help them keep playing the game when there's content they enjoy doing but don't want to do it? Well, that's a huge conflict. I mean, if self-progression is what you love, then you should theoretically love things like leveling all your jobs to 60. If you self-proclaimed self-progression, that's what it is. Or even getting those minions mounts. Those are things that only affect you and have no influence on a raid group. So, I mean, that's a hard one. If you're not motivated, you shouldn't be forcing yourself to do anything, because sometimes taking a step away and then coming back, you just jump into it full force and you get way more done. Even if it takes a longer time over the course of like a year, you're still going to get more done because you just feel more motivated because you took a step away. You're like, all right, I'm back. Let's go. Chugging through. You know what I mean? All right, next question. Buenos dias, Senor Happy. Hola. Long-time Twitch follower, but first-time asker. I know who you are. I know that name. So I have one whole pie. I'm not a big pie guy. Can I get like those giant chocolate chip cookies that are in the shape of a pie? I'll take that. Or cheesecake. Just a thought from the level potion jump video you made. I understand MMOs that the potion will be a thing, but I don't believe it should take you from 1 to current max level. They should take you to level 30, so maybe you unlock your job right away. So the thing about Final Fantasy XIV is that the jump potion actually is not necessarily needed for the leveling process. It's needed for the story. It's that whole 2.1 to 2.5 trog through the game that makes people even say, yes, that's a good idea. Personally, I'm not necessarily against the jump potion, it's just that I'm not in favor of it either. I kind of recognize it as like a necessary evil eventually. I don't think that eventually should be level 70. And I think that the only reason they're even considering it is because A, WoW does it and is successful. B, a lot of people say they don't want to trog through the story to get up to the current content. And C, people ask for it. Literally, people ask for something like this. You say, oh, nobody wants this, everyone will stop playing. No, if you actually look at the people who don't play Final Fantasy XIV and what they have to say, a lot of the times, I don't want to do the story. I want to get up there quicker. And yes, I know that it's a generation of gamers that like always want everything now, but that's the market. And it's not like, you can't be like Square Enix. I'm sorry that you want to appeal to the market, but please don't. You can't do that. It's a business. It's a game. So it's a matter of making sure that it is something that is reasonable and that it works. I don't think we'll ever have a potion unless it jumps you right to max level. At least jumps you past 2.5. At the very least, it's got to jump you past 2.5. And even that is a bit of a stretch because they would probably still need to make the Heavensward story a little bit better. All right, I got to move through these questions because I got something to do. I might not have any time for Twitch questions this week because I got someplace I got to be in 13 minutes. So let's burn through. If I have to miss a few questions this week, apologies. Let's see. So I'm not going to answer. This person has 3 questions. I'm not going to answer them all. Hey, Mr. Happy. Been a while since I posted here. Got a few questions about certain things and a lore bit on 3.3s. I have a retainer that only brings you dragon skin maps once an hour. I am going to take... Let's see. Cut the fluff for the jump potion. Okay, I just answered a jump potion question. 3, will we ever get to a full theater mode for the Book of Journeys and add an option to have the dialogue boxes auto-scroll? Dude, I would love that. It's so annoying that you can't auto-scroll through those. And I think Yoshi P actually mentioned they wanted to do that. Also, so you don't have to go back to the book. Like, you could just play all the cutscenes in a row without having to leave the book and go back into the cutscene. Yeah, I want that so bad. After having had to record it for all those hours just before 3.3 came out, I would love to have that as a feature. All right, next question. Ayehaps, how you doing? First time poster, so I have a new fresh can of air. I don't need those. I actually have an electric one. Electric canned air. It's phenomenal. It's like 30 bucks. It'll save you so much money. Just a quick question. Since I recently started working on my anima weapon, I was wondering what if I start gathering the crystals for my scholar and then decide to maybe go for another anima quest. Will the crystals be attached to my scholar? No. If you get all 18 crystals for your scholar and then go, you know what, fuck it, I don't want to do scholar, and you just do a different weapon instead, you can absolutely do that. You just have to abandon the quest and accept it on the job that you want it for. You can absolutely do that. Next question, from a lore perspective. Why, hello to you too. Thank you for saying hello and being so courteous. Why doesn't the story address the thousands of other Warriors of Lights? Because in your playthrough, they're not Warriors of Lights. They're fellow adventurers. In your story, which is everyone who plays the game has their own story, you are the only Warrior of Light. Everyone around you is a fellow adventurer because Warrior of Light is an adventurer at heart. So that's why it doesn't have to address it. In your story, you are the Warrior of Light and nobody else is. All right, next question. Hey, Mr. Happy, I'm not new, but you still get no bonus. Aww. Is it possible for you to give us the link for that pic you put up of yourself wearing makeup? There's a whole video on it. Look at my channel. If you type in, what is it, 800 subs or makeup or some sort of tag, I don't know. It's back from a few months ago. There's a whole video of the process of it on my YouTube channel. Please do not make me relive it. It made me and my sister's day, thank. Oh, it's not in a Monday video. It's on my channel. It's not just the picture. There's literally a whole video for it. It's Hap Amy. Moving on. All right, and this is going to be the last question I answer. This video is already running long, and I do have a place to be in 9 minutes, so I will not be able to take any Twitch questions this week because we had such a large amount of questions over on the forums themselves. So, hey, Haps in chat, if you are streaming this live, hello to you, chat. I have a bonus of more Game of Thrones. I don't watch Game of Thrones, dude. I was just having this discussion with Alan from Serious Gaming last night. I don't watch TV. Like, I'll watch shows occasionally on, like, Netflix. Like, I've seen Daredevil. I've seen what's her name? Jessica Jones. I've seen The Blacklist. Like, I've seen a bunch of shows. Even seen a few episodes of Orange is the New Black. Mel was watching that the other day, so I sat down and watched a few episodes with her. But, like, I don't watch shows, especially not Game of Thrones. I know we are getting a Yokai Watch crossover event soon, but I feel Square missed a golden opportunity to crossover with another game that comes out in August, Deus Ex Mankind Divided, since Rabwan lost his arm in Deus Ex Worlds deals with the augmentation. So here's the thing. They can't give Raubon his arm in a crossover event, because that would not go well with the main story at all. So if that's where you're going with this, which it seems like you are, okay, well, I guess you're saying that they could foreshadow it, but they kind of already have foreshadowed it in small portions of the story. So I don't know. Deus Ex Mankind Divided, they really like to do collaborations with Eastern games, and Deus Ex is a very Western game. Like, look at the ones they've done so far. They did Final Fantasy XI, they did Dragon Quest Online, they did Final Fantasy XIII Lightning Returns, they did, I'm missing one. They did 2 Final Fantasy XI ones, because then they did the second one with Iroha. And then they're doing Yokai Watch. Like, they mostly work with Eastern companies. Like, I know Deus Ex is published by Square Enix, but I don't think that's the kind of game that they would look to do one for. So, I do think Raubon's going to get an arm from Sid at some point, though. Like, he's basically going to be Barrett at some point. I think we've all pretty much accepted that. But on that note, everyone, that's going to be the last question I answer for Mondays with Mr. Happy this week. If you have a question, be sure to go and post it over on the Dream Network forums. After this airs on Mondays, in the description of the video, you'll find a little thread that has the questions, and it'll be called Mondays with Mr. Happy, Week 99 question thread. 1 week away from 100. Also, one last little reminder, we have the videos right here on this side. The Monk video is here. I can't remember the other 2 videos. Maybe the monk video is definitely here. I know I said there was like another video here that I wanted to post. Maybe it was the jump potion one or something else. But yeah, thank you for watching this week's episode of Mondays with Mr. Happy. I will see you next week for week 99. And I'll also see you on Tuesday for Star Ocean 5, because I am hella looking forward to playing Star Ocean 5 this Tuesday. Come by the stream. I'll make a video to remind you. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up over on Twitch separately, so thank you for joining me over on YouTube. I'll see you guys next week. And until then, take care.